Hello everyone. Let's discuss one poem written by Donne. Donne's A Valediction Forbidding Mourning. A Valediction Forbidding Mourning. Written in 1611, published in 1633 in his collection Songs and Sonnets, that is 2 years after John Donne's death. John Donne, 1572-1631. John Donne wrote a valediction forbidding mourning in 1611 for his wife Anne Donne or Anne More before he left for a diplomatic mission to France. The poem was meant to console her, reassuring her that their love is strong and spiritual, capable of enduring physical separation. Donne, a leading metaphysical poet, explores the idea of love as a transcendent and intellectual force rather than one based solely on physical presence. Characters in the poem. First of all, the speaker John Donne, a devoted husband who reassures his wife that the love is spiritual and unbreakable. Then we have Anne Donne or Anne More, implied listener, the poet's wife, whom he confronts before his departure. Summary of the poem. The poem consists of 9 quatrains, that is 4-line stanzas, and it follows an AB-AB rhyme scheme. Donne uses metaphysical conceits, that is extended complex metaphors, to convey his ideas. The opening, that is death and departure. Donne begins the poem by comparing the departure of 2 lovers to the peaceful death of virtuous men. Just as these men die quietly without struggle, he urges his wife not to openly grieve their separation. True love does not require dramatic displays of sorrow, but remains steadfast and calm. Love beyond the physical. The poet contrasts their refined spiritual love with the dull, sublunary lover's love, that is earthly love, which depends on physical presence. While ordinary lovers suffer in separation, Donne and his wife share a deep intellectual connection that transcends the physical realm. The gold metaphor, expanding but unbroken love. Donne compares the love to gold, which can be stretched thin without breaking. This metaphor illustrates how their bond remains intact despite physical distance. It may stretch, but it does not snap. The compass metaphor, 2 souls connected. In the most famous conceit of the poem, Donne compares their souls to the 2 legs of a mathematical compass. His wife is the fixed leg, steady and central, while he is the moving leg, exploring but always connected. As he moves farther away, she remains firm, ensuring he will eventually return to her. Final reassurance. The poem ends with the idea that separation strengthens their love rather than weakening it. The spiritual connection ensures that distance does not diminish their union, but instead proves its depth and endurance. Themes in the poem. Love as a spiritual and intellectual connection. Transcendence of love beyond physical boundaries. Stoicism and emotional control. Unity and completeness in love. Faithfulness and constancy in love. First one, love as spiritual and intellectual connection. Unlike a physical love, which weakens with a separation. True love is rooted in the soul and mind. The poet suggests that intellectual and spiritual compatibility is more profound than mere physical attraction. Transcendence of love beyond physical boundaries. Love is not dependent on the senses or physical presence. The compass and a gold metaphors highlight the idea that true love stretches but does not break. Stoicism and emotional control. John Donne discourages overt displays of grief or sorrow. Love should be calm, strong, and rational rather than emotional or theatrical. Unity and a completeness in love. The lovers form a single complete entity even when apart. The compass metaphor suggests that one lover's actions are always guided by the other. Faithfulness and constancy in love. The poem reassures Anne Donne of her husband's loyalty. Love is not weakened by distance, but it remains strong through spiritual unity. Symbols and metaphysical conceits. The dying man symbolizes a peaceful, quiet farewell, urging emotional restraint in separation. The earthly versus spiritual love differentiates between physical love, which weakens with the distance, and a spiritual love, which remains eternal. Gold beaten tin represents lovers' flexibility and endurance despite separation. The compass symbolizes unity, stability, and an inevitable reunion. The moving leg, that is John Donne, is always connected to the fixed leg, that is his wife Anne Mourning. The setting of the poem. The poem is set in the context of John Donne's departure from his wife. It is written in a consolatory tone, designed to comfort his wife and reassure her of her lasting love. Overall importance of the poem. A valediction forbidding mourning is one of John Donne's most famous metaphysical poems, known for its intricate conceits. It challenges conventional notions of love by presenting it as an intellectual and spiritual bond. The poem is celebrated for its philosophical depth, emotional maturity, and a striking imagery. It remains a classical example of metaphysical poetry, admired for its logical reasoning and imaginative comparison. Now let's analyze the most important lines from the poem. As virtuous men pass mildly away and whisper to the souls they go. John Donne here compares the quiet, peaceful death of virtuous men to the parting of true lovers. Just as these men do not fear death, lovers should not mourn separation with loud grief. True love transcends the physical, much like the soul's transition beyond the body. The tone is calm and reassuring, emphasizing spiritual endurance. So let us melt and make no noise, nor tear floods, nor sigh tempests move. The poet here urges his wife to part in silence without dramatic displays of sorrow. Love should not be weakened by excessive emotion, as true love is steady and resilient. By rejecting tear floods and a sigh tempest, John Donne dismisses a theatrical mourning as unworthy of the deep connection. This highlights the theme of stoicism and emotional restraint in a true love. Dull sublunary lovers love, whose soul is sense, cannot admit absence. John Donne contrasts physical, earthly love with a spiritual love, which is intellectual and transient. Ordinary love, tied to the senses, suffers in separation because it depends on physical presence. However, the poet and his wife share a love that goes beyond the material world. Their love, unlike a common love, does not waver with distance. But we, by a love so much refined, that ourselves know not what it is. The poet describes their love as so pure and elevated that even they cannot fully understand it. Their connection is not based on mere passion or physical attraction, but on a deep, mysterious spiritual bond. This elevates the love above conventional relationships, making it eternal and imperishable. John Donne implies that true love exists beyond human comprehension. The next line: if they be two, they are two, so as stiff twin compasses are two. Here John Donne introduces his famous compass conceit, comparing the lover's souls to a mathematical instrument. Though a compass has two legs, they remain connected, just as the poet and his wife are spiritually united despite physical distance. The image suggests balance, stability, and eventual reunion. This reinforces the idea that separation is temporary and love is constant. The next line: thy soul, the fixed foot, make no show to move, but it doth if the other do. The poet's wife is compared to the stationary lug of the compass, which remains rooted while the other moves. She provides stability, ensuring that the bond remains intact despite physical separation. This metaphor beautifully illustrates how one lover remains emotionally grounded while the other travels. The connection remains strong, ensuring they will reunite. The next line: and though it in the center sit, yet when the other far doth roam, it leans and hearkens after it. Even when apart, the lovers remain drawn to each other, just as the compass leg tilts toward the moving leg. This conveys the idea that true love is not static, but responds to the movements and emotions of the beloved. The image reinforces the idea of an unbreakable connection, no matter how far they are physically apart. Love bends, but it never breaks. The next line: such wilt thou be to me, who must, like the other foot, obliquely run. John Donne assures his wife that even though he must travel, he remains spiritually connected to her. Just as the moving compass lug is always tethered to the fixed lug, he will always be drawn back to her. This metaphor emphasizes loyalty and the certainty of a reunion. The movement signifies growth and experience, but the love remains unshaken. Thy firmness make my circle just, and makes me end where I began. The poem ends with the compass metaphor, showing that no matter how far he travels, he will return to her. Her steadfastness ensures that his journey remains meaningful and complete. The idea of a circle symbolizes eternity, unity, and the cyclical nature of love. This final reassurance underscores the theme of constancy in love. Such a departure should like death be, nor noise, nor tears. Love should be calm and dignified, just as death should be for the virtuous. True lovers should not engage in dramatic expressions of grief, because their love is beyond the physical. John Donne suggests that parting should be peaceful, reinforcing the idea that real love is unwavering. Love does not end with separation. It remains strong and eternal.